my dentist.
She's my house cleaner. He's the waiter. She's my cousin.
They are illegal immigrants. To hire, feed, or shelter illegal immigrants is a crime.
So far, our dystopias have all been ones where the future is highly uncertain, possibly bleak, dark, and where hope is hard to come by, but they've all had a future. The mediocre misery of Brazil, the post-apocalyptic world of Akira, and the City of Lost Children. They've all been late 20th century visions as the world came out of the darkness of the Cold War and prepared to reshape itself. Tonight we look at our first 21st century vision of dystopia, one where it's not even certain that a future exists, at least not past this generation. We are talking about Alfonso Cuarón's 2006 Children of Men.
100 years from now, there won't be one sad fuck to look at any of this. What keeps you going?
You know what it is, Theo? I just don't think about it.
Based on a 1992 dystopian novel by P.D. James, which paints a vision of a depopulating England in 2021, racked by infertility, and those who resist the hopelessness of not having a future. The movie version scraps the world laid out by the novel to create a far more 21st century vision of what the infertility crisis would undoubtedly look like.
I said, what's wrong with you? Look at me, I said, what's wrong with you?
St. Gabriel, help us.
Shut up! Right, you up, out!
St. Gabriel, come to our aid in this hour.
Alfonso Cuarón would have help from 5 different screenwriters, including himself, Timothy Sexton, David Arata, and the duo who would go on to write Iron Man, Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby, as well as enlisting Clive Owen, who stars as Theo, to work on some of his own rewrites. Originally, Beacon Pictures bought the rights to the book with no director attached, enlisting Paul Chart to work on it, then Fergus and Ostby. Alfonso Cuarón broke through in 2001 with Y Tu Mama Tambien, and then signed on to work on the project with Timothy Sexton, who he had read the book, while Cuarón just read an abridged version before going off to work on Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
In the case of P.D. James, it was just like a one-page outline of what the book was about. And I thought, well, wow, this is brilliant, but I already have a film that I wanted to do in my head. So in that case, I made the conscious decision of not reading the book.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want it to sidetrack from what I was thinking. And then I've been tempted later on to read the book because people around me, they tell me it's great.
Yeah.
They say it's quite different, but it's really great. When I did Children of Men, I wanted to understand the themes that were going to form our 21st century.
I mean, everything in Children of Men seems to be a little
little
relevant these days.
Those things were happening then.
Yeah.
Which is when the screenplay was handed to Arata, whose rewrite finally got Clive Owen to agree to star. I think knowing this whole chronology is extremely important because Beacon acquired it in 1997, and by the time it came out, it was 2006. This version of Children of Men is very much a product of the War on Terror. The England we get in a world where a child has not been born in over 18 years, and it's now 2027, meaning the infertility began in 2009, is a police state racked by constant bombings, much in the way that Brazil is. But in this dark, bleak, sterile world, refugees, largely Muslims, Caribbean people, African people, and Romani people, called Fujis, are blamed for this constant violence. It's implied that while the rest of the world has fallen to the chaos, only Britain soldiers on, keep calm and carry on, etc., chin up. Along with the pro-Fuji underground activist network called the Fishes. Cuarón has been very open about his influences. Brazil is of course a big one, but also A Clockwork Orange, The Battle of Algiers, and Nosferatu director F.W. Murnau's 1927 Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. Interestingly, Cuarón has also talked about how he's reading a lot of Zizek during the production process. Theo is a former political radical and pro-Fuji sympathizer who has since been demoralized and beaten and just wanted to be left alone after the son he had with Julianne Moore, his estranged wife Julian, who also happens to be the leader of the Fishes, died as a child.
They wanted to change the world, and their faith kept them together. But by chance, Dylan was born.
This is him?
Yeah, that's it.
The film also stars Michael Caine as Theo's best friend Jasper, a former political cartoonist. whose wife has been tortured into a catatonic state, much like Brazil. Chiwetel Ejiofor as the Fish Lieutenant Luke, and Claire Hope Ashady as Key, a Fuji carrying a huge secret. Theo's world of miserable drinking and working as a civil servant comes to an abrupt end when Julian makes contact with him again, asking him to help Key get to the coast without revealing her secret. When Julian is ambushed and killed right in front of Theo and Key, it slowly dawns on Theo that the fishes are not what they seem. Well, actually, they're pretty fucking sketchy, so maybe they totally are what they seem, but, with different plans. It's up to Theo to get Key, who we find out is the first woman to become pregnant since the infertility began, to the coast to hopefully get in touch with the Human Project, a mysterious group of scientists somewhere in the sea, with both the government and the fishes on their trail. Look, we've covered Children of Men in the very beginning of the show, but there's so much more to talk about here that we didn't get to then. The iconography and symbolism throughout is incredible. It's absolutely steeped in war on terror dystopian horror. From the signs urging the British citizens to turn in refugees, to the Abu Ghraib-style detention camps, to cages on every corner for refugees to be shoved into.
Do not support terrorists. Britain supports you and provides you shelter. Do not support terrorists.
We get the iconography of fallen Soviet art, of decadent Western art, and questions the meaning. Does art even matter when there'll be nobody left to see it? We get a full sequence where a detention camp turns into an intifada. The world of Children of Men has so much to talk about, and its absolutely grotesque fallen vision of, well, pretty much now, but without any kids. Ideas of religion, of Key, an African former prostitute refugee, carrying the first child. After Cuaron became fascinated with the single origin hypothesis, it was originally Julianne Moore who was going to carry the first child, as in the book, but this version works so much better and is so much more interesting. Multi-layers of race, class, and refugee status.
The government will take the baby and parade a posh black English lady as the mother.
Nobody's taking my baby.
The acknowledgement that the government will want nothing more than to kill Key to replace her with a black woman of posh English birth. Entire sequences are shot like actual war footage, which is both exhilarating and incredibly jarring. And on top of all of that, we get Michael Caine in a bad hippie wig, smoking weed and telling people to pull his finger.
Pull my finger. Pull my finger. I'll do it.